Last week, we began our discussion concerning the sevenfold blessing, and we should reiterate that, in that process, there is the complete unfolding for humanity, and also the blueprint for humanity as to how to achieve that memory of life, so that the soul may continue. We mentioned last week longing and awareness as the first, the true purpose of life as the second, and methods of seeking as the third. Now, so that we don't obtain, unnecessarily, a great deal of bad press, let us reiterate also our position on religion. As we said, religion is a curious invention of humanity, and it has been a necessary one. What humanity wished to do was learn, attempt to understand, the source of all things. Yet, even in that, the creation of certain ritual and dogma, humanity oft-times became diverted in its attentions. Religion, in and of itself, is a vehicle, or path, which any soul may choose, in order to come to knowledge of the creative source. Now that is a beautiful idea. However, and unfortunately, what may also occur, which again is a choice of the soul, is to divert that energy, so that what started out as a grand idea, with the individual retaining its authority, its power, was now to relegate its power to another individual. If someone is faithful to self and gives their power to the process within any religious thought, it is possible for that soul to obtain that which it desires, which is a greater understanding of the creative source. The problem arises when the individual becomes, in a sense, spiritually lazy. Again, it is choice. We're not saying that is wrong. It is simply inappropriate if one truly wishes to achieve the goal. In that process of giving away one's power, usually it is not to the religious belief, whatever that may be. It is given to the high priest, the minister of that particular religion, placing them in great authority and allowing self, in that sense, to become a victim. Now, true, one can achieve one's goals if one allows oneself to be victimized to the nth degree and finally says, "I've been a victim long enough." But most often, unfortunately, throughout the centuries of humankind in its history, one finds that humanity has been content not to take responsibility for itself, choosing to discharge its proper responsibility to an individual, a sect, a cult, or to any type of movement dedicated to enlightenment of some form. So, what we are saying is that, in order for one to achieve the goal that one desires, which is knowing the creative source, there are many paths, and if one chooses one form of religion in order to bring this about, then it is also necessary for individuals to retain their own power, their own responsibility, for self, so that they become the ones who dictate the flow of the information. It is not reacting to the information, it is instigating the knowledge and information through the whole. So, each human being seeks, through a method, that creative source. For many of you, all of you, it has been a process of elimination. You have tried many methods, coming to this method, which is searching through the science of metaphysics, through positive thinking, through all the labels you can place on it. It all comes down to the same thing: truth. That leads to the fourth step, which is the realization. After having tried many different paths, gaining knowledge, becoming aware, expanding the boundaries of possibilities and imagination within yourself, coming to the realization that all human beings are one, that all human beings are at one with their entire environment, realizing that all human beings are responsible for themselves and in turn elect to be responsible for others through mutual choice, that humanity is responsible for its part in the creative process, taking in all that is. This is wonderful and the focal point of approach to spirituality, this realization. It is great strength. It is the thing that tips the scales for all of humanity.